Take 88, and Tino is feeling great. And why is that? Actually, I'm feeling euphoric. I am a grandfather once again today. A beautiful baby granddaughter is born, and I am just ecstatic, euphoric. And part of me is actually feeling like I shouldn't even be here doing this smart cast. But unfortunately, with the situation with COVID and everything that's going on with the hospitals, we can't really go into the hospital right now. And so we just have to patiently wait a couple of days for the mother and the baby girl to come home so that I can start once again another journey as a grandfather. And so I thought, meanwhile I'm waiting, I got to do something constructive and productive with my time. I got always got a long, nice list of things to go into when it comes to Steam It and my crypto adventure that's been going on for quite a while now. And bullseye, we got to hit the bullseye again let's start off with, once again, DTube. Yes, DTube is in the scope again. DTube, from no love to one love to self-love. I actually was going to title it From No Love to One Love Back to No Love Again, but then I thought, no, it's obvious that I'm not going to be going backwards into the no love again. But there's a significance to it, and I'll get to that in a moment. When I started out getting back into DTube, it was obviously because of the concern that I had about censorship and the idea that, the old idea of be rewarded as a content creator. So get into the crypto world, whether it's Steam It or DTube or, whatever else is starting to pop up as an alternative to the traditional platforms that we're used to. And so I said, okay, let's go back into DTube. Let's see how things are. And my main concern was just to put up my SmartCasts, have a place where they would be hosted, and then have the ability to be able to embed them in Steam It. I didn't really concern myself too much with the fact that when I came back to DTube, I was still being downvoted, but it was an automatic kind of auto bot that that I unfortunately ended up on that list. If I'm correct about what I think, because I was never really told straightforward, but there was a period way back when people, and probably there's still a lot of people that still do this, but there was a period where people were just kind of throwing links from YouTube into the DTube just to try to earn some crypto. Now, I was putting links of people, of content creators that I support, but however, when I finally understood the logic of what was going on, why all of this downvoting was going on, I said, okay, they have reason to be doing this, because people are just going to come into the system and try to game the system by grabbing a YouTube link or whatever kind of link. Unfortunately, however, you kind of bring this upon yourself, because there is that option within DTube to be able to share a video that is on YouTube. Now, the full reasoning behind that, I don't know, probably because in many cases the IPFS system isn't always reliable, and other people, even though there are other services that you can pay for, like the One Love Uploader, people don't want to pay for certain things. People want a lot of free stuff, right? People don't want to buy. They don't want to buy into systems. They want to test things out first, and they want to have the comfort of certain options. And one of the comforts in DTube, one of the comfortable options, is being able to just throw your YouTube link in and quickly have your video published, especially if you're having problems with IPFS. So I wanted to get beyond the bandwidth problem, and so I just got a whole bunch of crypto and just kind of threw it into DTube, probably about 1,500 DTC coins. And that way I was comfortable. I was just kind of comfortable to know that my bandwidth would not be a problem at all. And for a while, the IPFS upload wasn't giving me a problem. But then I started to kind of look at this voting power that was building up. And I said, well, what am I going to do with this voting power? Then what happened was that the downvoting bots that were downvoting me, obviously because I was sharing original content, I was no longer sharing other people's content. That downvoting bot kind of disappeared. And so I was starting to accumulate voting power, and I was starting to see that there were rewards coming in from my own original content. And I said, okay, well, why don't I just look into the economy of this? Because I was just using the D2 platform to put my SmartCast up and then have them be embedded into my Steemit post. But when I saw that I was kind of taken off of the blacklist, I said, oh, wow, I might as well look into the economy. I mean, I have enough coins to actually participate and try to get a sense of what is this system really all about? What's the voting all about? What are the leaders all about? You know, starting from zero, starting from what I call no love. You know, I was just in there by myself doing my own thing and making use of the platform for what it was useful for. But in getting curious about the actual system and wanting to know more about it, I'm looking at this video, I'm looking at that leader, and I'm trying to read a couple of posts or read the white paper and trying to get my head around, okay, what's the internal mechanisms? So I come across One Love, and One Love is supposed to be a community for DTubers, and so I join, I go through the steps, whatever, you know, when you come in, you have to introduce yourself and all this other jazz that you got to go through, which is really more like an indoctrination process. Filter in the cult members. That's how I look at it now. And obviously I'm bitter about the experience because it's not the first time. You know, I understand human nature. That's where my specialty comes in. So it's not the first time that I go through these kinds of things. And I have a way of being in life where I need to provoke the environment that I find myself in to kind of pull out what's really hidden and what's really true and what's really false about the system. I can't adapt myself to false systems where then I have to defend the falsity of it. I've always been taught to stay outside of all systems. That way I don't have to defend what I see wrong within it. I let those who are within it, who are defensive and argumentative, do all of the defending of the system that has cracks within it. So as I'm dipping further into this One Love, trying to figure out what is this One Love community? Why is it calling itself a community? Why do people on the DTube platform call themselves a community? And obviously when I'm looking into the economy, I have to start looking into the trending page. I have to start looking, right? Try to think about this. When I was in the no love phase, right, I was giving DTube no love, and it was giving me no love. It was only giving me a platform in a utilitarian kind of way. You know, I used the platform for what it was useful for. The same thing I do on DTube or Spotify or Anchor or Google Podcasts. You know, I don't really care much about the system or the governance of the system to a certain extent because, you know, there's a lot of information coming out. There's a lot of articles out there in the independent media about, you know, what's going wrong with YouTube and what's going wrong with Google and what's going on with Facebook. And so I'm a little bit more aware and cautious about what it is that I'm doing on these platforms. But other than that, I don't really get too far into it. Like most people, I don't read the terms and agreements. I just click the accept button because I want to upload my SmartCast and get on with things. Unfortunately, we have become very lazy when it comes to these things, and they have cleverly become very, quite the opposite. You know, the terms and agreements of most of the things that you agree to nowadays are like 50 pages long, and they can insert whatever the hell they want in there. So, you know, you kind of just go along with it and use the platform for what it is to be used for. Exploit the platform for what it is to be exploited for. Certain words or trigger words for certain people. And so when I'm dipping into all the trying to understand the economy of DTube, trying to understand the culture of DTube, and notice how the word cult is in culture. The cult-like behavior that goes on in there. I started really seeing how other people were gaming the system, and I started interacting with people to understand, well, you know, guys, what's going on here? Why is voting on other people so non-beneficial. I mean, if somebody has more DTube than I do, if somebody has more DTube tokens than I do, the DTC coins than I do, it's almost pointless that I would vote them. You know, in order to really benefit, you have to either have more tokens than someone else, more voting power than someone else. I mean, it's all a system where you have to carefully monitor what it is that you're doing in order to gain some reward. And so you really have to be strategic. Now, I remember reading a while ago that there was a post in which the founder of DTube has put together a system of leadership and a system of 13 leaders that would do their best to try to kind of constantly switch up the game. Hard forks are for improving bugs and glitches, but hard forks are also for changing up the system, changing up the rules in the game so that players don't get too comfortable with learning how the system can be exploited and then milking and farming and scamming and whatever else. So this constant changing up makes it difficult for scammers to kind of like just program a bot and then go sit down on the sofa and enjoy the television while, you know, their bots and things of that nature are scamming the system, or even humans who are scamming the system. So I thought that was very interesting. I was like, that's a good approach. That's an interesting approach. You know, constantly switch up the game and let real humans understand what's going on and then adapt themselves to the new rules and the new system. So I'm looking and I'm having to look at the trending. I'm having to look at the kind of content creators there are. And I'm realizing, well, this is really a group of people. And I've said this before. This is not the first time I'm saying it. I just hoped that entering into this One Love situation, this One Love group, who really, they believe themselves to be a community, but they're a clique. You have to understand what the difference is between a community, a clique, a tribe, or a cult. A clique is just a very small group of people who kind of sit around and pat each other on the back, and they kind of wink, wink. They get the idea of where they would like to go with this. But you need these kind of fancy titles to pull other people in. You know, a DTube community, nah, come on, people. Let's get beyond that. A One Love community, get beyond that as well. DTube, rightly said, is just a platform. All the rest of it is bells and whistles and show and play and kind of, all of this kind of masquerading for a sense of, it's almost like this hippie-ish, airy-fairy type of One Love nonsense where we're all just going to hug each other and we're all going to bliss out. We're going to go into this utopianistic future where we're all going to be wealthy because of the amazing videos that we make. 3-minute videos. Come on now. People are, hypothetically and theoretically speaking, if you look at what the value of a DTube token is supposed to be, people are getting 50 tokens, 100 tokens, 75 tokens for 3-minute garbage videos. But the thing is that everyone pats themselves on the back and pats each other on the back. And there's this kind of wink, wink, nod, nod, pat on the back. Hey, if we all just keep to the game, then we'll all just be rewarded for it. And let's hope nobody comes along with higher standards, because that is what the great fear is. Let's create lower standards. That way we can all just reward each other and we can feel good about what it is that we're doing. We can actually pretend to be real content creators. We can actually pretend to be good quality content creators because, hey, otherwise, why would we all be in the trending? And it was fascinating because I got a really nice upvote from Dookie for a song that I had put together, right? And I didn't expect it. I just kind of was inspired to do this track. I wanted to dedicate it to him because of some conversations that we had. And I didn't even know that he was a big fan of what was his name? Jordan Peterson, I think. I didn't know he was a big fan of this philosopher. And so I kind of put this track together and I was like, yo, Dookie, this goes out to you. And, he blasted me with this upvote that shot me up to number 2 in the trending page. That's obviously an exciting moment because you never think that it's going to happen. I mean, when I'm in the no love zone and I'm thinking to myself, well, I only got like 1,500 DTube tokens, right? I'll never see the trending page. I'll just, sit here and get self-monetize. It's the self-monetization of my SmartCast. At least they're letting me do that without downvoting me. So, to finally see myself in the trending, and to have the One Love community tag added on to my video, I said, okay, well, I'm now seeing something that I thought could happen in the future, right? Because when I got into this One Love Discord forum, I don't know what the One Love clique, really, it's a One Love clique. When I stepped into this clique, I mean, one of the first things that I said when I got in, I said to Duke, I said, man, there's a whole lot of stuff here. There's a whole lot of channels and stuff inside of one, but it's dead. I mean, there's a hard. I saw that the number of people who had joined were in the hundreds, and it was just kind of like 4 or 5 people chatting away to each other. I said, this is not a community, this is a clique, and so it's more show. It's more kind of on the out. One Love is really, when I boiled it down, it's just a brand. It's just a brand with the hope that it will become something in the future. Not really a community, but more of a brand. And it's interesting because there's this kind of idea that we're not here for the money. Boy, do we really need to get over that. We really need to get over that big time. So when I'm seeing this clique and I'm seeing the kind of interaction is going, and I'm trying to educate myself, I'm trying to learn more about things, and I get these kind of cryptic answers and these, half answers. The interesting thing is in the private conversations, I get the real truth. In public, we put on a certain mask. And remember that when you put on a mask in life, eventually it's going to get heavy. Remember that the bullshit that you put out in life, it gets heavy eventually. Living with the truth is easy. It's very easy because you don't really have to store truth anywhere. It just kind of exists in the ether. It's out there. It's always accessible. When you are bullshitting in life, when you are lying in life, you have to deposit that lie somewhere, and you have to remember where you deposited it and what you said, because then when it comes up again, you have to remember the lie, and then you have to continue to lie to defend the lie. It's easier to just be truthful and straight up in life. Just be straight up and straightforward, because then you can actually understand what the situation is that you find yourself within. So I said, okay, I need to start asking other people. So I'm leaving comments because I want to understand how comments work. I want to understand how comments are rewarded and curated. So I'm doing all these interactions, and then I'm learning and realizing, number one, DTube is not decentralized. Number two, DTube is not democratic. And it's not censorship resistant. It's none of the above. And I'm accepting of that because I'd rather just know what the system is so I can find ways to exploit that system for my benefit, because I am here for my benefit. If I was really in a community, I would recognize the members of the community. I would recognize the community spirit. And I would embed myself as a community member and do my best to participate. When I see that there is no community, then I say, okay, then we are here, each man for himself, every man for himself. And I don't mind that. I can handle my own. I can handle my own in systems, and I don't mind doing that. When I don't recognize a community spirit, then I'm not there for the community spirit. I'm there for the gain, the benefit of the platform, what it offers me. As an individual, self-love. That's when I get to self-love. So I said, I got to drop this. There's too much negativity. There's too much negativity that I'm engaging in. There's too much bullshit that I'm engaging in. Okay, so it's time to redraw the drawing board. And say, okay, let's go back to square one. But go back to square one having had all of this experience. And so now I'm in my self-love mode. So I dip back down, and now I understand a little bit more about the economy. I understand a little bit more about the game that is going on the inside. I understand why certain people, I understand why most people don't engage one another, because most of the engagement happens on Hive, right? People do their videos, but the engagement goes on Hive, right? Because most of the people are from Hive. Most of the people who support the system come from Hive, and most of the support for DTube comes from Hive, and most of the support from DTube goes to Hive. And I don't mind that. I'm cool with that. I'm just trying to figure out the system, how it works, and what my place within it is. Let's get one thing real straight, right? One thing we got to get real straight. Steemit is a platform. DTube is a platform. Steem is a blockchain. Avalon is a blockchain. The Avalon blockchain provides DTube tokens. The Steam blockchain provides Steam tokens and Steam dollars, the Steam blockchain dollar, SBD. These blockchains are economically based, financially based. This is about economics. This is about business. And this is about entrepreneurialism. So if you step in with an entrepreneurial mentality and someone else steps in with an employee mentality, the employee mentality is you pay me. A lot of these cats that come in with the freebie mentality, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to just take advantage of all the free shit that's there. That's an employee mentality. I'm stepping in and many other people are stepping in with an entrepreneurial mentality. And it's the real entrepreneurs that are within the DTube system who really opened up my eyes, whether it be about the game theory that goes on, whether it be about how the rewarding system and curation system really works, to how the self-vote is really to be taken most advantage of, right? When you're in the economic system, then you sit down at the table like a businessman. Not like we're buddy buddies and, hey, can I borrow $50? I'll give it back to you when I got it. We're in here to deal with the blockchain, and the avenue to deal with the blockchain is through the platforms. So the DTube platform is your portal to the Avalon blockchain, where you first and foremost, if you don't have a sense of business, you can kill all that nonsense about community and cliques and tribes and cults and all of the human behavior that goes behind and influences a market. Remember, markets are influenced by human behavior, psychology, human nature. But the underlying factor is always that you are starting with a starting point principle that you are dealing with an economy. And if you do not know how to deal with economies, if you do not know how to hustle, if you are not an entrepreneur, then the rest of the shit that you bring to the table is mental masturbation. And I don't have time for that, because I'm looking to get my return on investment just like everybody else is. Otherwise, I can just go to some other platform that has no crypto attached to it and just be a human being and deal with human psychology as is, freely. But if we're going to be stepping into a cryptocurrency environment, then you better step in with some kind of wisdom and some kind of awareness and a preparedness to deal with economics, to deal with entrepreneurialism, to deal with business, to deal with negotiation, to deal with contract, to deal with agreements, and not this airy-fairy hippie bullshit about we're all here just to love each other. You could do that somewhere else. Go to a retreat or something, you know? Take some time off from your job as an employee and your paycheck and go to some kind of new age spiritual retreat if you want that kind of love, because you ain't going to get that kind of love on DTube. You will get that love if you're wise enough and clever enough to understand how the economic system works and how to play it to your advantage, you know, without being disruptive and abusive. I mean, remember, we are here economically, so we should act like we care about economics and act like we really care about a business mentality and a professional mentality, because professionalism is necessary to grow and put a product or service out for humanity to hopefully one day mass adopt. Speaking of humanity mass adopting something that is useful and relevant in the economic world and very centralized, trigger words, Steam Link today just got me. And this time the Steam Link is not mine. This comes from Themi. And this is the second time she got my attention. That's always if she's a she. I mean, we're back in this kind of crypto avatar world where we don't know if we're dealing with a guy or a girl. So Themi sounds feminine to me, but she got me again. And it was a Steam Link, an article, crypto exchange Binance unauthorized, says Italian regulator as crackdown widens. Ooh, what a big headline. You know, and this comes from Reuters. This comes from Reuters. So I said, okay, well, look, I'm in Italy. I'm Italian. And I trade on Binance. So if this doesn't get my attention, I don't know what will, you know. Lately, I haven't been giving a whole lot of attention to Steam links because I have so much other stuff that's going on Steemit. And so, but I always keep an eye on it. I always keep an eye on the community, Steam Links community. I have 2 amazing moderators now. So I feel like the community is in good hands. And I can focus on other things. But I always look and I always try to see what's going on and see if there's anybody that's just kind of, you know, putting nonsense in there. I want to see good links, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, that people have this space to be able to share what they're interested in. So I see this and I said, I got to check this out. I got to read this. This affects me. This influences me. So I'm reading this Reuters article, and I keep reflecting back on the title, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Crypto exchange Binance unauthorized, okay, says Italian regulator. But then when you go into the article, what you find out is that there is a watchdog. The watchdog group in Italy has stated that what Binance is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, since when do watchdog groups become regulators? Since when do watchdog groups pass legislation? Since when do watchdog groups sit on the throne of a courtroom and decide what is authorized and unauthorized? But it's great for headlines. It's great for the amount of FUD that's going on at the moment because Binance is a real threat. Binance is an absolute threat. It is growing. It is under dynamic, aggressive leadership. And so it is really putting a scare on the fiat market because Binance is making some noise. So even though they're trying to crack down on Binance in different areas, Binance has got their team of lawyers. And the team of lawyers responded to this watchdog group. Can you believe it? Can you believe this title? And to think that we're supposed to be thinking of Reuters. You know, I think we're coming to an age where we just don't care anymore. If it's the New York Times, if it's the Washington Post, if it's the Guardian, you guys have lost all credibility with this fake ass bullshit that you put out there. You know, how unfortunate it is for people who have wanted to dedicate their lives to journalism to only just reduce yourself to a bunch of puppets. It's sad. So it's really all about the title because when you go into the meat of the article, you find out it's not Italian regulators. There's no legislation being passed. There's no courtroom scenario going on with Binance. Binance simply said, listen, we don't have any headquarters in Italy. The argument is that because Binance translates their website into Italian, that they are offering services in Italy. Since when are you offering services in a country simply because you translate your web page? So it's a bullshit argument. It's propaganda. And unfortunately, people swallow this stuff because they swallow the headline. So there are no Italian regulators here. There is no Binance is going to fall. For all of you Italians out there who are dealing with Binance, trading on Binance, stacking your BNB like me, don't worry about this nonsense. Yes, you keep an eye on it because they're going to keep trying. But, you know, so long as it's a watchdog group, it should be, you know, it should be a watch kitty cat group. The real watchdogs are us because we have our crypto at hand. And so we're keeping an eye on things. From the Italian community, the best photo of the week contest, right? Each week in the Italian community, we have a contest in which we look at the best photo. The founder of the Italy community, she is a passionate photographer. So she has really dedicated this space to having this contest every week so that people can put up their best photos and we can vote on those photos and the winner obviously gets rewarded. But I saw this beautiful photo by Shohana. And it's not the first time that she's posted up in this contest. She's really a great photographer. She has a good eye and she knows how to capture colors and images really. But there was this image of all this red fruit-like looking thing. It looks almost alien and it's called a dragon fruit. And I have never seen, never heard. Now, mind you, I'm really big into health and I'm really big into fruit. I love fruit. I love all kinds of fruit. I mean, I know exotic fruits like mangosteen and goji and noni and you know, acai, these different kind of exotic fruits. And then obviously your typical fruits like pineapple, watermelon, all these things. So I'm really big into fruits, you know. And so I saw this dragon fruit. And it's just wild, you know, it looks like a flame. It looks like it's, you know, it's shaped like a flame, something on fire. And it's called a dragon fruit. And it's got this wonderful red. And I think some of them are yellow. And I have never, ever seen one of these in my life. I'm bringing this up because if somebody can help me, you know, I asked Shohana, I said, Shohana, I mean, what does this fruit taste like? What, I've never heard of it. Does it have another name? Maybe I do know what it is, but I know it under a different name. And apparently, no, never heard of it. So I am really curious now. It's a wonderful photo. So, I mean, if you want to, when the contest comes up, if you want to vote on that. But I'd be curious if somebody knows or if somebody's ever had a dragon fruit, what it tastes like. I'm really curious. Because now I'm thinking, I'm here in Italy. I don't know if I'll be able to find some because this looked really exotic, right? So I'm wondering if I'll ever be able to find this around here. And what would we call it in Italian? You know, if I want to go look for this. When I do my Italian version of the Tino Take, I'm going to talk about this issue again. And I'm going to ask around because I've seen some pictures on Google because Shohana gave me a link and said, you know, have a look at Google and see some of the different images and what's written about the fruit. And I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see, you know, what it would taste like. Now, on the inside, it kind of reminded me of a kaki, or what we call here fichi d'India. And they are fruit that grow on a cactus, a kind of cactus. And when you open up inside, there's these kind of different seeds. But this is, you know, this dragon fruit is altogether different. It just blew me away to see, number one, the beauty of the photo, and number two, the uniqueness of a fruit that I had never seen before. What else do we have? Well, we have the Communities of the Month support program. Now, I haven't spotlighting Steam It blog in a while, but because they're really, really busy and they're really concentrated on the Steam It Academy. And I kind of wanted to get into that, but I have too much other stuff going on. And I said, I don't have the time that I would really like to have, but it's doing great. But when I saw this today, I said, wait a minute, you know, because I'm into communities. I got my community. And speaking of which, you know, I know what it's like to really be in a community because I am in a community. And I have a real community leader in my community. And when I think about leadership, you know, I've been thinking about this all day, and I thought about how the leader and the country representative of the Italian community did not want to be the leader and did not want to be the country representative. I remember when there was a scandal back when the Steam It team was asking for people to step up and become country representatives. Someone stepped up who was not Italian, just was not Italian, was racist towards Italians. I mean, it was just the most ridiculous scenario one could ever imagine. So when I saw the situation, I wasn't even in the Italian community yet. You know, as far as I knew at that point, everyone had kind of disappeared and went over to Hive. So I wasn't even paying much attention to it anymore. I was focusing on my Tino Take. And so a situation came up, and I saw that my now country representative stepped up and said, look, this is wrong. If you're going to be choosing a country representative, the country representative should be a native of the country, should speak the native language, should know the native culture. And I was impressed by that, and his name is Girolamo. And so when I saw Girolamo step up like that, I stepped up as well because I said, wait a minute, I'm in Italy too, so I got a say in this situation as well. And so I responded also in that context, and I responded to the Steam It team saying, listen, this is wrong that we have someone who's been chosen as a country representative. It's not their fault because the Steam It team just basically has to do what they do. You know, they put the word out there. Whoever responds to it, they do their best to kind of accept that people are volunteering and stepping forward to say, okay, yeah, I'll be the country representative for Italy. But really what they were doing was they were trying to grab the delegation, because there's a 5,000 steam power delegation that came along with it. So I stepped up and said, listen, I think this is wrong. We should have a native person from Italy. I'm not going to be that person, because I would rather give that responsibility to someone else who's a native Italian speaker and knows the native culture, because I'm here. I've been here for years, but I didn't grow up here. So with all due respect, I put myself to the side, and I don't want that kind of leadership position. That's not for me. But when I saw Girolamo step up like that and defend himself, I said, oh, that's cool. That's good quality. That shows character. And I suggested to the STEAMIT team, I said, look, the guy knows how to write in English, so he can be a good liaison between the STEAMIT team and the Italian community. And so I said, why don't you instead take this Girolamo person and make him the country representative? What does Girolamo do? The first thing he does is he says, no, I think someone else should be. I think Sardart, which is the founder of the Italy community, he says, no, I think she should be the country representative because she's been on STEAMIT a lot longer than I have. You see that? You see that level of humility? And it reminded me of a movie that I saw, and the movie was called The Two Popes. And who was in it? Who was the actor that was in it? Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins played the role of Pope Benedict. And it was the two popes. It was the story of when Pope Benedict abdicated his throne, went into retirement, as he said, and Pope Francis took his place. But it showed in the movie, there was a particular scene where Pope Francis, before he became Pope Francis, was watching during the election process, how Pope Benedict, before he became Pope Benedict, how he was going around, collecting votes and asserting himself as the leader. He should be the leader. And it was something interesting that he said. This Pope Francis, the character who played Pope Francis, he was sitting at the table with someone, and they were kind of commenting on this kind of hubris of this leader. Says, I'm a leader, I should be your leader, vote for me. And Pope Francis said, the number one quality of a real leader is that they don't want to be the leader. And I thought about that, and it really reflected upon Girolamo, because the first thing he said was, listen, let someone else do it. I'm not the leader here. Let the leader be such and such, because such and such has had more experience on the platform. That's humbleness. And I appreciated that. And it made me think about that. So you cats out there that constantly spit and reiterate, I'm a leader, I'm a community leader, I'm a leader. If you need to self-advertise yourself that way, then you're pumping yourself up with hubris. Because real leaders are chosen by others. And real leaders are humble enough to accept that they don't want to be leaders, but they will accept the responsibility if they are convinced by the community that they have the best qualities to take us forward. So you be careful with people who pump out of their mouth that they are leaders, because you should be more interested in what other people say. If other people say he's a good leader, she's a good leader, that's one thing. But when the person themselves says, hey, I'm your leader, I'm a leader, then you ought to be careful of who you're dealing with. And you should think about those words that Pope Francis says. One of the underlying qualities of a real leader is the person who does not think himself to be a leader, who does not want to be the leader, but is recognized by everyone around them for his or her leadership qualities. So Communities of the Month support program, and, I'm part of the Italy Game Witness team, and, we have our own little inner circle where we kind of talk about things. And so that conversation was just fire today. And when I read the post and I read the whole thing, I said, guys, they were already on it. We got to get on this, because we do have a worthwhile community, and we are going to put this application in, and we really, really will be happy if we can get that support, because we are doing a lot, and we could really use the support, especially after everything that happened with Steam Auto and how it changed things, and it took away from our rewarding system. And then at the same time, Girolamo, not loses, but, the expiration of a delegation. He had a 50,000 steam power delegation given to him by someone who then that expired. And so obviously that person took back the 50,000, and, that took away all in the same period. So we're rebuilding back up to being able to reward not only people within the Italy community, but people who participate in the contest, and anybody who has a worthwhile post anywhere on Steemit, or anybody who's doing quality work anywhere on Steemit. So I'm wishing all the best to the team, and hopefully Girolamo will be able to put together a nice application, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that application will be accepted. Gene Codes, Session 8. I got into micro chakra psychology. Wow. If you like psychology, you got to check that out. You know how I do on the Tino Take. I'm not going to go into the actual subject. I just kind of promote it and let you guys know. If you're into psychology, if you're into philosophy, or if you're into sociology, if you're into esotericism, spirituality, if you like the idea of the chakra system, the Eastern philosophy of the chakra system, you got to check out micro chakra psychology, because it's going to give you a whole. I really enjoyed this session because I crunched down because there's a lot of information to crunch down. Seriously, the micro chakra psychology book written by Sean Bhatnagar should be a university textbook, which is studied for at least 2 years. It should cover at least 2 years. That's how rich it is with information, from cosmology to psychology to, oh my goodness, it's just amazing. So you want to check that out in the micro chakra psychology. Quick little hint. Each one of our 7 chakras, within them, have micro chakras, smaller chakras. For those of you who know what chakras are, that ought to capture your attention. Moneymaker by Counterculture. And counterculture, who's counterculture? None other than yourself. None other than yours truly, me. It is my hip-hop MC cultural name. I've been MCing, and I kind of want to put it there, just kind of give myself a little quick self-plug, because lately I've been going crazy with these amazing beats from Anabolic Beats. This guy out of the UK is phenomenal. I just can't get away from his beats. Each and every single one, I download it, and I just think I got to write something to this. And then I'm so backed up, I'm working on a new song now. I mean, if you look at DTube, if you look on DTube, or you look in my Steemit post, you will see a lot of titles by Counterculture. Moneymaker by Counterculture, this by Counterculture, Kings and Queens by Counterculture. Those are all the musical beats, the instrumentals come from Anabolic Beats. And I just cannot find another beat maker who can match this guy. As far as I'm concerned, as far as the style of MCing that I love, this guy is phenomenal. And every single track he drops, I just feel like I got to write something to that. I got to write something to that, and I got to write something to that. And it's, the beats are piling up. So I'm having a whole lot of fun with that. I hope you guys are enjoying that, because I'm developing my own little style, and I'm picking myself back up, because it's been a lot of years that I've put my MCing off to the side. Now, let's end this off with Trickle Up, the Trickle Up ecosystem, Trickle Up economy. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Sri Lanka is on board 100%. Man, they are loving this. The Sri Lankan community is loving this idea. And they hit me with a nice little treat, because the admin, what she did was the Supreme Honeybee is in the Italy community, and is a gentleman from Indonesia. You see, we show love. We show love in our community, and it's not just about being Italian. Our Supreme Honeybee is from Indonesia and is part of the Italy community. Not a member, but a friend of the community, because we like to start people out as friends, and then we kind of we let them build up to being members. So this individual becomes the Supreme Honeybee. The Sri Lankan community gets added to the list, so the list gets bigger. And as a result, we level up. So now we have a supreme honeybee, a supreme dragonfly, and the supreme sparrow. And so what happens now is that when the Sri Lankans were added in on the list, the supreme dragonfly was a Sri Lankan, one of the Sri Lankan members, and he's hyped up about this. He's really hyped up about being the first dragonfly, and and they in the comments they're saying they're calling him the dragonfly, and it's a lot of fun, But what I went and noticed within the community was the admin in the communities you can add titles to the members of the community, to the people in the community. And so you like in the Crypto Academy, in the newcomers, you have achievement level 1, achievement level 2. So I go and I look in the Sri Lanka community, and the Supreme Dragonfly, the person who has been nominated the Supreme Dragonfly, his name up where his profile, it's up there, it says Supreme Dragonfly, and it's got 2 crowns on both sides. And I was like, whoa, isn't that cute? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that wonderful? When I saw that, I went to the Italy team and I said, guys, you got to do this. Please, please look at what they're doing over at Sri Lanka. We've got to do this as well. We've got the Supreme Honeybee. So, let's do that. So, my admin went in and added, in Italian, Api Suprema, the Supreme Honeybee. So we've got this new creative addition. You see, that's what happens when you have fun with people who are genuinely, they come up with ideas and you run with it. You go with those ideas. You get that flow going. However, it's interesting that days have gone by. We still have no Supreme Sparrow. And I'm looking at a dilemma that we are going to be facing. And I knew this was coming. So here we are. Within the trickle-up ecosystem, a lot of the enthusiasm is at the level of the honeybee. And at the moment, also at the level of the dragonfly, because many members in the Sri Lanka community have a very low effective steam power. That doesn't mean that they have low steam power. It means that they have delegated a lot of their steam power out. So it looks like they have a lot of low effective steam power because they have created a community curation account. Now, I've inserted a rule that you cannot delegate in order to qualify. You cannot delegate out more than 50% of your steam power, because I don't want to have people coming into the game and then delegating out their steam power to upvote bots and upvote accounts for self purposes when we're trying to create a community ecosystem. And so I came up with this rule, and this came about as a result of me and the admin from Sri Lanka going back and forth and trying to understand how are we going to incorporate this in. She wanted me to count all of the steam power, including that was delegated out. And I said, no, I want people to build up their effective steam power, because I'm tired of seeing these curation trails where you have one account that gives you a nice vote and the rest of the accounts are zero. We have to empower individuals to be part of the voting economy. People need to learn how to manage their voting so that they can vote comments. They can know when to do a 50% vote, a 70% vote. This idea that we centralize an account and just all of the responsibility goes to that account to upvote us. I don't think that's a good approach. I don't think that's a healthy approach for a community. So I've asked them to begin building up their effective steam power to the point where they have 50-50. Then afterwards, once you have 50% of your effective steam power and 50% delegated out, whatever you earn after that, you can continue to delegate to the curation community. So you're helping the community and you're building up your own self-empowerment at the same time. So as a result, we have a whole long list of Sri Lankan members who have very low effective steam power. So what's happening is we're going to see a very fast growth in honeybees and in dragonflies. It's going to be a very fast growth. But once you get to the sparrow level, you have people who have a high level of steam power. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to incentivize them, because in essence, the honeybee gets the greatest reward from me. The dragonfly gets the second, and as you go up higher in the level of steam power you have, the less of a vote you get from me. Now, that's for me to find people who are genuinely interested in the trickle up system. If you're looking for a trickle down system where we bloat, we bloat up big accounts and that's what you want to do, that's fine. You go into a trickle down. But this is a trickle up system. So those people who do not want to participate and who do not understand the concept of helping out smaller accounts to grow faster, then that's fine. They'll get canceled out. And eventually it will filter out. But days have gone by and we still do not have a Supreme Sparrow. So I'm seeing that this is going to be a challenge eventually of how do I incentivize the Supreme Sparrow? Because I'm only able to give an 80% upvote and I'm just on my own. I don't really have anyone on a curation trail. I don't have a big, gigantic, bloated account that people would say, oh, wow, I want to get that 80% upvote. So I will have to see if together with other people, we can come up with some kind of idea on how we can incentivize all of the Supreme positions. It's easy for the Supreme Honeybee because that's always the least steam power and it's the fastest one to grow. I mean, whoever becomes a Supreme Honeybee, look at the first Supreme Honeybee that we had. The first Supreme Honeybee that we had is already a dragonfly. So, because the admin, Randula, from Sri Lanka, she was saying, well, what happens when you have two people that keep going back and forth from the number one position? Because, the Supreme Honeybee is the least amount of steam power. Then there's the second least amount of steam power. And what the Supreme Honeybee has to do has to overtake. So if the Supreme Honeybee has 10 steam power and the second honeybee has 20 steam power, then the Supreme Honeybee simply has to accumulate more than 20 steam power, 21, 22, 25. And so she was saying, and then what happens is that person who's in second place now becomes the Supreme Honeybee. You understand how this works? And so we continuously keep working on the person who has the least amount of steam power. And what she said, well, what happens if this thing kind of goes back and forth between number one and number two? And I said, wait a minute. What you're not factoring in is the idea that when a person becomes the Supreme Honeybee and has 10 steam power and has to overtake whoever's in second place who may have 20 steam power, after a week of being completely supported by myself with 100% upvotes twice a day, with the entire community behind that person, by the time the week comes to the end, I can assure you that the Supreme Honeybee is not going to go from 10 steam power to 21 steam power or 25 steam power. They're going to go from Supreme Honeybee to becoming a dragonfly or maybe even a sparrow. You understand what I'm saying? So then the person who is next in line, they get that full blast. They get that full blast of attention. They get that full blast of support. And so we really push up that bottom, whoever's in that bottom least steam power, they really get boosted up. I mean, look at the very first Supreme Honeybee that we had is now a dragonfly. So there is no such thing as this back and forth between the number one and number two position because we give people a really nice boost. They blast on up, and then they won't be in the Supreme Honeybee position for quite a while, even if they ever get back to the Supreme Honeybee position. I mean, the very first Supreme Honeybee is already approaching 500 steam, and she just got into the system not too long ago. I mean, she's just learning about the system. The second Supreme Honeybee that we have from Venezuela, she's also a dragonfly. So you understand what I'm saying? We are boosting up all together, and then those people will become people who can then upvote and bring more value to the voting system. So it's a fascinating concept. I'm working on it. I'm really grateful that these communities are helping me. Every once in a while, I see even the Steam It team and other people just come out of nowhere. There was Kiwi Crypto and just from New Zealand. Just when something is a good idea, it captures people's attention, and support comes from nowhere, and it's wonderful. I'm doing what I can with what I have. I love the system, what I'm creating, and so I'll do as much as I can on my own. But it's great to see that other people are contributing in, and there's a lot of creativity, and there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of incentivization because the Supreme Honeybee now wants to post up, and the Supreme Dragonfly is posting up articles. You incentivize these people to be more active, and what happens is that over this period of time that they are getting all of this attention, I remind them, listen, you're having a good time now. Remember that once you have gained all of the support, there will be another Supreme Honeybee who will need your support. Hopefully, you will be there to support that person. And this can continue on, and it builds up a sense of community, helping out the smaller ones. We all grow together. And then in a matter of time, a couple of months, 6 months, we won't see any longer voting trails with one big vote and a whole bunch of zeros. You know, we'll see a nice vote, another nice vote, and maybe a string of 5 cents, a string of 3 cents, a string of 1 cent. But, you know, let's stop with all these zeros. Let's get involved in the voting economy that exists on Steemit, because we are now in a phase of creativity where we can really do something interesting and unique with the rewarding system, with the system of incentivization. Okay, people, that is it for today. I really feel blessed to be a grandfather today and to be able to do this Smartcast and share that with you. And blessed to have all these wonderful topics on the list. I hope that you have enjoyed. I hope that you support the Italy community to get that application so that we can get the support from the Steemit team and just everything that I just mentioned today. I hope you like it. I hope it meant something to you. And yes, thank you for the support. Thank you, as always, for listening. We will see each other soon, either on the Tino Take or one of the many other Smartcasts that I'm doing at the moment, which, by the way, all of these Smartcasts that get published outside of Steemit, the only thing that I put in the description is a link back to Steemit, because I want people to come to Steemit. I'm using my Smartcasts outside, whether it's Google Podcast or Spotify or Anchor or DTube or YouTube. The link always brings people back here. So that's my contribution. The better that I get at Smartcasting, the more popular that my Smartcasts become, the better it is for Steemit, because this is where I want to draw people to have a sense of community and to learn about crypto, media, blockchain platforms. Thanks again for listening, people.